When you were younger and in school, did they try to put you into a box? When I was growing up, it was nothing to have 38, 45 kids per classroom. So they would often give us one test for everybody. It didn't matter what your background was, where you grew up, everyone took the same aptitude test, they called it. And when I was young, I often joke around that we would move so much that I actually came home from school one day with my little brother, and the house was locked up. And we could see in because all the curtains were off the windows, all the furniture was gone. The house was empty. And so it wasn't anything for us to do. We didn't know the neighbors. We just sat on the stoop. And after about 5 minutes, my mom and dad pulled up. They had a U-Haul trailer in the back, pulling a U-Haul trailer behind their car. And back then, you could rent the hitch that it hooked right on the back bumper. That was back when bumpers actually could support the weight of the car. Well, anyway, Mom comes running up. She says, "I'm so sorry. We thought we'd be back." My folks literally moved away and didn't tell me where they moved to. But I moved around from school to school a lot. Those were the years when I would get beat up. And one year my uncle pulled me aside and said, "Son, you're not going to make it if you don't learn how to fight back." I learned how to fight back. And I have not backed down from a bully since. Now I'm pushing 70. I have a spinal compression in my neck, pacemaker. So I'm going to have to figure out how to defuse the situation in a different way than I used to. But that's not what I want to talk about today. That's just part of the story. The other part is that each time I would move from one school to another, some schools I had good teachers, other schools, and like I said, 40 kids, average of 40 kids in a classroom, they didn't have time to pull you aside and show you something. If you didn't already know it, you pretty much were on your own. It was so bad that one year I had a teacher, and I had fallen behind in reading. And I had a teacher that would have us read a portion. We would sit in a circle, and we would each read a few sentences, and then it would go to the next person and the next person. And when somebody would stumble, the other kids would know it because we have the book, we can see, they would help by starting to sound out the word, the p, whatever the word was. Well, this one teacher got so upset with me. I can drive people crazy, that she told the class, "Don't help him. Make him learn on his own." So she would sit there, and when I would screw it up, and I did it all the time, she would start the class laughing at me. That really instilled the love of reading for me. Well, a teacher across the hall saw what was going on and came over and put an end to it. She literally said, "Pack up your desk, you're coming to my class." And the teacher said, "You're overstepping, you're not." And she said, "Go talk to the principal. If you want to fight me on it, let's go talk to the principal. I'll win." So she said, "Okay, fine. I don't want him here anyway. He can't read." After about 6 weeks with that other teacher, I was back to reading. I was reading at my class level. I just had to have a teacher that knew how to teach. And she understood something. And I have up on the screen a little cartoon that was, somebody put it on Facebook years ago. Said it, Einstein. Now, Einstein might have been smart, but he didn't say this, and he didn't have any connection to this. The only thing funnier than that is that when they said Abraham Lincoln, you said, you can't believe anything you read on the internet, signed Abraham Lincoln. But this has been on my mind today, that this is the kind of test that they would give us all. And if you didn't fit, well, it's just like it says. It says, for a fair selection, everybody has to take the same test. Please climb that tree. Now, this test is so simple for one of those individuals, but for every other one, it's impossible. Only one can actually take that test and pass it. And you see, this teacher that took me under her wing understood that as long as I was ridiculed for not being able to read, I was never going to read. So she took me aside, and she did what this second part of this is. Everybody's a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it's going to live his whole life thinking he's stupid. That's what she understood. Now, unless you've had a reading problem when you were young, you don't really understand the joy that teacher gave me. I believe I've shared before how when I was in high school, one of the things I loved to do during study hall, since study hall was so boring, I had almost a standing pass. I could go to the library almost any time I wanted during study hall. It was an hour and a half long. And I would sit and read. You couldn't take the Encyclopedia Britannica out of the library. So I would sit and read it there. Sometimes after school, I would help my father, and he knew to pull up by the library window and just honk the horn, that's where I would be. I was in the library. So the librarian gave me a slip that all of my study hall teachers, because they rotated, then that I could come to the library because she appreciated the fact that I loved to read the Encyclopedia Britannica. I know it's stupid, sounds crazy, but I loved basically just reading it all. And it gave me a pretty good background of trivia for all kinds of weird things. Nothing that made me a millionaire, but I never set out to make a lot of money. It's kind of odd. I always just wanted to make enough money to pay for what my kids needed. And the last 27 years, my children have been raised and gone. Well, not the last 25 years, they've been raised and gone. And so now I worry and take care of, I say worry because I do. I worry about my wife. I want to make sure she has enough. But that teacher understanding this little cartoon, I think that's why I kept it. Why I was going through some files looking for something, and I came across this. And I think I kept it because it reminds me of that teacher. I'm ashamed to say I don't remember her name, but I remember what she did for me. And by giving me the gift of being able to read, it opened my world. Now, the school systems have since tried to change somewhat because even they understand one test cannot really apply to everyone. Now, I understand and I agree that there has to be some standardized testing. but within reason. And because I moved around, we moved 4 or 5 times in one school year. I mean, it was just unbelievable. If you watch my videos at all, you know that there's times, especially when I was young growing up, that my family we were dirt poor. I mean poor. We strived to live at the level of poor people. But we moved around a lot. So it was easy for me to fall behind in school. But this teacher, and then later on, a few years later, a teacher, Mr. Clark, I remember him. I remember him very well. He took me under his wing, and he helped me with the 5th grade and 6th grade. So teachers can make all the difference in the world. And he also understood this principle in this cartoon. You should never judge somebody by how they're doing compared to how someone else is doing. And absolutely should never judge your own life by what somebody else is doing. See, as soon as you compare yourself to someone else, it stunts your growth. If you compare yourself from yesterday to today, and in the morning, compare yourself with what you're going to do tomorrow to make yourself better than today. That's the only comparison that you should ever do. It doesn't matter what your friends and family are doing. It's only what you are doing to make you a better person, a happier person, and to make things better for your life and your family. And from everything I've been told, husbands and fathers are better when they focus on making themselves better than trying to live up to the Joneses, like my mother used to say. One of my mother's favorite things, it seemed like it was her favorite thing to say to me was, well, son, don't do that. What will the neighbors think? I finally told her one time, I said, Ma, if you knew the neighbors' problems like I do, I hear about it. Their daughter Pam told me everything that goes on in that house. If you knew what I know, you would never worry about what they think about our family. And that's usually the way it is. So don't try to live your life. If you're a fish, don't try to climb a tree. That's not your forte. Honestly, my forte most of my life has been woodworking. And not to blow my own horn, but I have had many, many people tell me that when I build a piece of furniture, it's a fine piece of furniture. When I used to build displays for trade shows, handheld displays. And the one company said, it's smooth. Your finishes are just beautiful, and they're just smooth to the touch, like a baby's butt. I don't know. I mean, I didn't compare a baby's butt when I was making the displays, but I understood what they meant, and I appreciated it. So I'm not a mathematician, and I can't write. I try to put a pencil to paper to put these stories down, and I have a little difficulty. I'm not a writer, never have been. Truth is, I can't spell to save my life. Now, when I type into computer, spell check is a wonderful thing for me, and I subscribe to a program called Grammarly because it helps me actually put together a sentence structure that people can listen to. But, so that's not my forte. I do it because I enjoy doing it. And I am getting better at it. But my wife thinks it's hilarious that I can't spell to save my life. But if I'm proofreading something, I can spot the word that's misspelled in a heartbeat before she can sometimes. And she can't figure that out. She said, if you know what's spelled wrong, then you have to know how to spell it. No, I don't. I just have an eye for spotting flaws, which was why I was so successful as a construction superintendent. I was on the job from early morning to first one on the job and last one to leave. And if a worker was doing something and I spotted that it wasn't the way it was according to the plan or it wasn't correct, I stopped him right then. I've worked with other superintendents that at the end of the week, they would come around with a clipboard and show people, well, this is the mistakes you made. Nick, on Monday, fix them. Well, that's really stupid. Stop the guy right as he's made it. I had a guy one time try to put a wall up, and the top is on one side of the line and the bottom is on the other, so that put it 3.5 inches off. He's on a scaffolding, 20 feet up. He really couldn't see that. I could see it. I set my cup of coffee down. I used to carry coffee cups and point and say, that's okay, that's good, that's bad, fix that. But that was why, because I just have an eye for catching things that don't look quite right. But back to this. Okay, Chuck, pull your mind back on this. If a fish tries to climb a tree, he's never going to be happy. The only one in that group that's going to ace that test is that monkey. And the monkey really doesn't think twice about it. He doesn't care about it. He didn't study for it. It's a test that he can pass with his eyes closed. So when you're thinking about your life, make sure you're working within your forte. If you're a fish, you got to stay in water. If you're a monkey, you can climb a tree. But the other animals in this cartoon, they each have their own unique abilities. And so that's what you have to figure out. What are your own unique abilities? And then build on that and be proud of it. I'm very proud that I overcame a reading problem. I'm very proud that I was a superintendent and I stopped people before they had a little mistake turn into a big one. That's kind of what my job was. So think about that, and I'll see you in the next one. Oh, I'm supposed to say hit that like and share button down below because that's how YouTube promotes my videos. So I'll see you in the next one, folks. Bye now.